Another week, another card show. This time, my son and I visited the KC Card Expo in Lee Summit, Missouri. In my previous excursion to a card show, I had my mind set on 1975 Topps baseball. But this time, I tried to keep my options open. Yes, I still wanted to find more of the 75 set, but I also had another collection on my mind. To celebrate and revisit the thrill of the Royals' 2015 World Series victory, I've added two other collections to my list. One being a 2015 team set where I hope to find a 2015 card of each player on the roster, and the other being a hunt to find a rookie card for each member of the 2015 team. I feel like this is a fun addition to the hunt that also adds a cheaper alternative to the 75 search. We arrived as soon as the doors opened, paid the $5 charge, and off we went. Even though this show had a smaller table count, the place was loaded. Without question, this show had a far greater volume of cards to choose from. While there were still a number of TCG tables, it certainly didn't feel as though there was much as compared to the previous show we attended. Additionally, this show easily had more bargain bins to choose from, as well as a greater selection of vintage. The only question was whether or not the bargains and the vintage would meet my desires. The first table we stopped at had four large boxes with cards stuffed to the brim for $1 each. Absolute heaven to me. I pried out a handful and instantly had a good feeling. These weren't modern cards. These were cards from the junk wax era or older. Perfect. I got lucky because shortly after flipping through my handful, I saw a 75 Topps card, then another, and another. I knew that if he had these, there had to be more, and oh boy, did he. I could have snagged more, but my self imposed budget and a little self control had me stop at 15 cards. The breakdown is as follows: four team cards as I came across the Royals, Yankees, Angels, and Giants. The Royals and Yankees team cards both had markings on the back, indicating someone was working to complete the team set. Sadly, it seems as though those sets were never completed, as both were missing a player or two. George Brett was marked off the Royals, though. I do wonder if he still has it. I also picked up five cards from the 74 playoff subset, one from the NL Championship, one from the AL Championship, and then a card from Game 2, 3, and 4 of the World Series. I hadn't come across any of these before, and I love the photos they used for them, as they do a great job of taking you back in time to what the game looked like in that era. Next up are the 1951, 52, and 1965 MVP cards. These cards celebrate 25 years of Topps baseball and contain highlights for the corresponding players on the back. The 1952 card celebrates Bobby Shantz and Hank Sauer, while the 51 card celebrates Yogi Berra and Roy Campanella. Berra and Campanella on the same card is pretty sweet, and there was no way I was passing it up. On the 65 card, we have Zoilo Versalles and Willie Mays. Some absolutely fantastic names and history. Lastly, I picked up three traditional player cards. One is a 1975 rookie pitcher's card. The other two are Vida Blue and Don Sutton. I was really excited to see the Vida Blue. That name has stuck with me for years thanks to an obscure reference on an episode of Rugrats from the 90s. And finding a Hall of Famer in Don Sutton for $1 is something I will never complain about. I was also amazed by the condition of these cards. I'm not saying they're pristine, but it was great not only finding such a good amount of 1975 cards, but to also be able to add good quality cards to the collection. I've gone back and forth with whether or not to buy some of the commons online because it can be cheaper, and in some cases there's also a better selection with bulks and singles. However, finding a good selection like this will make me think twice because it really is a joy to come across this kind of selection in person. I'll happily pay a little bit more for a positive experience. The seller asked if I was working on getting a set together, and I told him I was. He informed me that a buddy of his had just acquired a good number of 75 commons and that he would be participating in a show at the end of the month. Perhaps some more good fortune will be in line for a future show as well. 15 cards for $15. The best deal ever? Probably not. Do I care? No. Feeling the high of such a great find, we continued through the show and I eventually came to another setup that was 100% vintage. And better yet, they had a box specifically designated for 75 tops. Be still, my beating heart. Diving in, it was just card after card of 75 commons listed from about 50 cents to $1. For 50 cents, I grabbed the following: Del Unser, Ron Reed, Dick Ruthven, Jerry Moses, Dick Green, Roland Office, and Pedro Garcia. For 75 cents, I got Doug Bird, Marty Patton, and Bob Boone. Lastly, for $1, I picked up Paul Splittorff, Freddie Patek, Sparky Lyle, Lou Piniella, and Mel Stottlemyre. Much like the previous table, these cards were in much better condition than I could have expected. Walking out of the show with 30 cards from the 75 set was a fantastic feeling. While at the previous show, I had my doubts about being able to find a number of common cards at the shows and thinking that shops and the internet would maybe be what I needed to lean on more in that area, seeing this selection at the show makes me feel like everything is still on the table. Wrapping up the 75 discussion, I was able to see a number of George Brett rookies here. One was $130, one at $150, and a graded one for $220 that I can't recall the grade of, but it did look very nice. Mental notes taken. I was also able to pick up some cards for my Kansas City Royals sets. For the 2015 team set, I was able to pick up cards from the 2015 season for the late Yordano Ventura, Mike Moustakas, and Jeremy Guthrie. Perhaps my favorite card from the show, however, was finding the Topps Turkey Red rookie for Alex Gordon. This was the rookie card I was hoping to find for Gordon, and seeing it there for a couple of bucks made my day. I rounded up my pickups with 1996 Mike Sweeney score rookie. Sweeney obviously wasn't on the World Series winning team, but he was a long-standing quality player for many struggling Royals teams in the late 90s and early 2000s, so he deserves some love. This was a fantastic show. The selection was amazing and well-balanced. I left feeling excited for the next one, wherever and whenever it may be, and feeling optimistic about being able to find cards for my sets in person. The checklists are starting to take form. I have 46 of the 660 cards currently from the set, so we are closing in on 10%. I'm happy that I've also been able to find a nice variety in the collection. Early on, I've been able to get a good mix of commons, Hall of Fame players, and a couple of truly iconic names of the game. Additionally, the cost that I've been able to acquire the cards at has been reasonable as well. If you're interested, I have decided to shift my short biographies of the players and cards to YouTube Shorts. I feel like realistically, this is the best way to give each card and player their due. That being said, it is a lot of cards and players, so like everything else, we'll just chip away at it little by little. Working to collect something like this has been an interesting contrast from my typical collecting style. When looking to get singles, I tend to really try hard to get the best deal possible. With something like this, I'm trying to maintain a balance between getting an amazing deal with also simply being happy to add something to the collection. So much of the hobby today feels like a battle of who got the best end of the deal, and it doesn't need to be that way. Trading cards don't have a definitive value. There is no absolute right or wrong. If you buy or sell something and you feel good about the transition and the transaction, then that's all that matters. This show is also another great example of what I love about the hobby. Dealers selling cards and engaging in discussions about the history of their collection, what I'm collecting, and offering support for future opportunities. I saw young individuals flipping through bargain bins looking for a great deal. I saw experienced hobby enthusiasts pulling up a chair to flip through boxes of 50-cent penny sleeved cards, and people making personal connections. This was a great way to spend a Saturday with my son. We both walked away happy, looking forward to what opportunities will present themselves in the future. Well, on to the next one. Have a great day, everyone.